Someone I have so much respect for has joined our darn group. Like, that's what Lean In is about stretching yourself beyond your comfort zone. She wrote an article for the Women's Press, and it was just really smart, and I thought, let's just contact her, because she's obviously leaning in her job, and I want, sort of with Nancy, like, you just have to take my word for it that she's very accomplished. She's a Bush Fellow. She does great work at McAllister, has done that for many years, and just did this awesome curriculum on Black Lives Matter. So if you are on our Facebook group, you might have seen something about it, but she's just doing really good work. She's a really good person, and I'm really pleased that we get to have her here today. Anything else I should say? Okay.
Thank you, Linda. I think Linda wants to be my personal trainer. One of the ways that we met was she said, why don't we go walking together? And I was like, okay, how bad could that be? And mile 7, I was like, Linda, stop. Stop now. And she's like, oh, okay. And then I said, how far do you walk, Linda? Oh, I've done about 20 marathons. Okay, girl, I see you. All right, so I'm really glad to be here today. I am overwhelmed by how many people want to lean in. There are a lot of us here on this Saturday afternoon who are leaning in, so that feels really good. Okay, I teach for a living, so it will really make me feel comfortable if someone pulls out some paper or a pen or like something. It's not about you at all. That's all about me. Okay, so I'll be like, oh, okay, this is what I do. So. As I said, I'm just starting to get to know Linda. We were hanging out recently, and I told her that instead of sharing a linear story of success, I thought I'd share with you some of the mistakes I've made. So one of my biggest shortcomings is that I have the tendency to make friends a little too quickly. The old me would have already invited 3 of you over for tomorrow's Sunday dinner, but I'm working on that, right? Because I just grab on to people. I just love people. But after I started thinking about that, I said to myself, okay, are these people really friends? Like, what am I doing? And so I decided that actually they were constituents and comrades. Okay? What do I mean by this? Constituents really aren't into you. They are for what you are for. As long as you are for what they are for, they're with you. If you're not careful, you will mistake constituents for actually being your friends. That's me, that's what I do. Okay, now who are the comrades? Comrades aren't even for you. They're not even for what you're for. They're against what you're against. You know those people. They will team up with you to fight the greater enemy, and they will only be with you until the victory is accomplished. Now, why is this a problem? This is a problem because the constituents and the comrades will not react to your dream the way you want them to. Why is this? They were never really with you in the first place. If you tell your dream to your constituents, they will try to fulfill it themselves. If you tell your dream to your comrades, they won't support it because they were never for what you were for. These people will put a ceiling on your sky. You will never have success if you let people put a ceiling on your sky. What you need are confidants. These are very few people that you will find. Confidants are the people who are with you when you are up or down. They're in it for the long haul. If you have 2 or 3 in a lifetime, you are fortunate. Now, I didn't realize this. I had heard the saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but I tend to be pretty stubborn, so when I heard it, I just didn't pay attention. After some ups and downs with constituents and comrades, I asked myself, who are the 5 people that I spend the most time with? I want you to think about this, okay? So, if you don't have paper out, it's okay. But you can ask yourself, who are they, the people that you're spending time with? What do they do with their lives? How ambitious are they? How successful have they been? How happy, how optimistic, And how enthusiastic are they? Evaluate carefully if these people will really be those that will help you get to the next level you want to get to. Do they push you forward when you come to them with new ideas? Or do they tell you that what you want to do won't work? So let's go back to my mistakes. I clung on to relationships with people far too long. Now, all of them are fun people, right? We like to have fun. But I always knew they're not the people who are dying to be incredibly successful. They weren't really interested in chasing dreams. Gradually, I learned this, and I started to spend less and less time with them. I finally decided that I was on a mission. I was going to find my tribe. Now, Linda said if you have books that you like, to mention them. And so, I don't know if you've heard of Seth Godin's book, Tribes. We Need You to Lead Us. Okay? So after reading this book, I realized that I'd never be able to lead if I didn't have people to lead with me. So what is a tribe? It's very simple. A tribe is a group of people connected to one another, connected to a leader, and connected to an idea. For millions of years, people have been part of a tribe or another. A group needs only two things to be a tribe. One, a shared interest. Two, a way to communicate. That's it. Maybe the lean-in circle is your tribe. If it is, that's great. Now, if it isn't, I've learned the hard way, you have to find your people. As I went on my journey to find my tribe, I started asking these questions. What do we do together? What do we talk about? What bonds us together? How healthy is this person? How successful is this person? How happy are they? If you're truly serious about achieving success in your life, then you really need to think about this. You end up behaving like the people you spend time with. If you spend too much time around people who are constituents and comrades, you won't have time for friends. Their negativity will rub off, and even if you don't turn into them, I promise you, they will put a ceiling on your sky. Success flourishes when we have a sense of possibility. Don't expect constituents and comrades to applaud your success. On the other hand, the confidants in your tribe will not be threatened by your achievements. They will know that your success is not in competition with theirs. They will congratulate you along the way. Why do I think it's so important to clear your life of constituents and comrades? Because if you're going to lean in, you're going to have to take some risks. Risks won't be what your constituents are for, and risks won't be what your comrades are against. Risks will be about you. So what's a risk that I've taken? In 2007, 2 months after my dad passed away, I enrolled in law school at night while teaching at McAllister during the day. Did I mention that I had 3 kids at home in diapers? Okay. The constituents and the comrades said that I was crazy. I actually wasn't crazy, I was ambitious. They couldn't see the difference because it wasn't about them. I knew that if I was ever going to get through law school, I would have to find some people who would let me reach for the sky. My plan was to apply for a Bush Fellowship so that I could take an unpaid leave of absence from my job. I really wasn't crazy. I had a supportive spouse and live-in childcare. With that kind of support, I knew that I could manage taking classes part-time. The only problem was actually winning the Bush. The first time I applied for the Bush, I didn't make the second cut. If you live in the Twin Cities, you have either applied for this grant or know someone who has. Shake your head. You know what I'm talking about, okay? Anyone who knows anything about the Bush knows that your best chance of success is to have the confidants in your tribe give you feedback on your essay. The second year that I applied, the foundation received 120 completed applications. They conducted 60 interviews and 30 went to the finals. They were only going to choose 20. The final selection process was a 3-day, 2-night retreat that included 10 interviews. The most significant aspect of the retreat was that you had no idea what questions you would be asked, and you were only allowed to prepare a 2-minute introduction. So here's the risk. What I felt comfortable saying for 2 minutes was, pick me, I'm really smart. Pick me, I'm really smart. Pick me, that's what I wanted to say for 2 minutes, right? That's all I could come up with, and I'm terrified. What I knew, however, was that everyone who was invited to this Survivor Island in Chanhassen was also smart, and they wanted to be picked. So I was going to have to take a risk, and I was going to have to let them know what made me, me. And the only way I was going to be able to do that was to be vulnerable. So I only had 2 minutes, and so I'll share with you what I said. James Baldwin reminds us that God gave Noah the rainbow sign. No more water, fire next time. This was my response last year when I did not receive this fellowship. The rainbow is a symbol of hope. That's okay, I'll have the fire next time. If vulnerability had a temperature, it would not feel like fire. It would feel like January in Minnesota. My life changed in January 1999 when my son Austin was born. For 20 months, I thought he was perfect. My life changed again in January 2001 when I discovered my perfect son was living with autism. I'm still learning how to parent a nonverbal child, but I've moved beyond the sound of his silence, stopped listening for his voice, and for the first time, I can hear his heart louder than his autism. For 20 months, I thought he was perfect. Now I know he is. I'm proposing to work at the first women's re-entry clinic at a law school that offers advocacy and also generates scholarship. My goal is to provide legal assistance to disenfranchised women and their families. This will benefit women who are leaving prison and their children. It will also benefit the law students who are learning how to advocate for them. Women who have been incarcerated need advocates, and I know what it's like to advocate for someone who doesn't have a voice. My experience as a parent, an academic, and as a law student will help me to bring these women's stories to a wider audience. This clinic is unique because it combines a collaborative grassroots approach to research. The stories of these mothers have the potential to inspire law schools across the nation to open clinics similar to the one where I'll be. Just as you've listened to my story, I can listen to their stories and let you hear their voices. God gave Noah the rainbow sign. My name is Dutch. I'm ready this time. When I was done with my speech, I knew I'd won the fellowship, and I knew that I'd finished law school. The journey was not easy. When I look back at it, however, one of the best things that happened when I was in law school was that I got rid of the constituents and the comrades. I wouldn't let anyone put a ceiling on my sky. I finished law school 5 years ago. Since then, I've changed my perspective from looking for people who could lift me up to asking how I can help others. When Dr. Maya Angelou passed away last year, I learned about the rainbow in the clouds metaphor, which comes from a 19th century African American song popularly known as God Put a Rainbow in the Clouds. The lyrics are, when it looks like the sun wasn't going to shine anymore, God put a rainbow in the clouds. Imagine, Dr. Angelou said, I've had so many rainbows in my clouds. I had a lot of clouds, but I had so many rainbows. Whether her rainbows were living or had long since passed, Dr. Angelou said she always drew strength from their support. I don't ever feel that I don't have help, she said. I had rainbows in my clouds. So there it is. Lean into your life, lean into your family, lean into your tribe, lean into your sky, so that you can be a rainbow in someone else's cloud. Thank you. Okay, I don't know where Linda is, so I don't know if I'm supposed to take questions, but I have one.
Actually, I don't. Yeah, I don't tweet, partly because the college was following me, and then I don't think they liked everything I said. But I'm on Facebook, and you can find me on, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on Facebook, and actually, I'm on Facebook under Miriam Harris as opposed to Duchess Harris. It's a long story there too about people not liking things I've said. But if you friend me, I'll hit you back. And I have a webpage. It's duchessharris.com.
Other questions?
Yeah. Other questions?
Can you talk more about the clinic and the advocacy?
Mm-hmm.
Give us an update on where you're at with that, what you're doing, and how that's going? Or?
Yeah, so Joanna Woolman is the person who runs, it's called the Reentry Clinic. It's at William Mitchell College of Law. And what they do is, they were absolutely the first one. I think there are at least 5 now in the country that just focus on women. They go to Shakopee Women's Prison. And the way the law actually works is, it's like, of course, we're all allowed to have legal representation. There's a clause, however, until incarcerated. And so once you're incarcerated, you know, it's not required that you get any kind of representation. And so it's students at law clinics who work with these women to usually get clients who have 90 days or less who are going to be at Shakopee to help them get set up again in life. And so it's a fantastic program.
Can you say the name one more time?
It's the Reentry Clinic, and it's at William Mitchell, and William Mitchell will be merging with Hamlin soon, but it's still freestanding on its own. Yeah.
Can you tell us about your new book?
Sure.
The Black Lives Matter one?
Sure, I didn't even pay her to do that, but I appreciate it. Okay, so I just finished writing the first book aimed at junior high and high school students about Black Lives Matter. It's coming out, you can pre-order it on Amazon November 1st. It's with Abdo Press, which is in Edina, and my co-author is a journalist who lives in Florissant, Missouri, who covered Ferguson. And so we've worked on this together. It's what I would consider a slim volume. It's 112 pages. And we basically cover from the summer of 2012 to the summer of 2015, from Trayvon Martin up to Freddie Gray, Baltimore, Maryland. And then given my academic background, I provide a historical context of what it means that this is happening now and these things have happened in the past. There are some schools that have been adopting it. My daughter goes to Laura Jeffrey Academy on Summit Avenue, and they're going to be using it. They're the only girls 5th through 8th middle school in the state. And so I'm hoping some other places use it, and I'm willing to come out and give talks about it wherever you are. Thank you. And you might have seen some press about it on the net because I understand Fox News doesn't like it. I'm sorry. Not really. Yeah.
When you had to say goodbye to the constituents and the comrades, and you made that decision to let that go, did those people just fade away?
Of course not.
What?
They were like, Dutch, where are you? And I was like, I can't.
What did you say to them?
It's really hard. You know, sometimes, and I don't want to be passive aggressive, right? Because I've only lived here half my life. So I like to be one of those people that's just like, I don't do that. But I have done that where, you get busy. But I mean, I had to talk about how I was on a path. And part of it really had to do with people saying, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, why would you do that, don't do that. And I was just like, go away, I can do this. And what's really interesting though now is that, particularly now that this new book is out, some of these people are like, wow, I saw you on the internet, want to hang out? And I'm like, no, I gotta go get a talk. in the lead-in circle, right? Like I'm busy. But when I was like working on the book, they're like, why do you work so hard? You're always doing stuff. And so it's really interesting how, people, if they don't want to be with you in the struggle, it's like, why do they want to be with you at the finish line? Like my husband runs marathons, right? And so it's just, do you want to live through living with someone running a marathon, or you just want to be at the end with the sign like, good job, right? Or do you want to hear about all the aches and pains and the complaints? So those are different things.
And so, in my experience, when you've had to get rid of those people, it's been pretty painful. I mean, would you agree with that statement? And would you like to talk about it a little bit?
Yes, my therapist has a summer home. I don't hate. She earned it. It's really tough, particularly given how long you've known the person. Like my experience also has been like the overlap people, right? What do you do with the people that you share, right? And so you have that person who still likes them and they still like you, and then go somewhere and it's like, oh, what if that person shows up? But you have to ask yourself, like, what's the end game? Like, what's the end goal? Like, do you want to be happy and healthy, and do you want to just do your thing? Right? And, I always have these things that I want to do. And if you're really cool with me, you can be a part of that. Like, if not, then you can just hear about it.
And how do you stay away from internalizing some of the stuff that they get to?
Well, part of it is I'm on the other side of 45 now, and so that has helped a lot, right? And so for people who aren't there yet, I'll just say, it's going to happen. Right? I didn't believe that. Just like I didn't believe the 5 people thing. I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, that's so stupid. I can hang out with whoever I want to hang out with. Right? I'm really stubborn, right? That's why I said I was going to talk about mistakes. Because everything that you shouldn't do, I have done at least twice. So true. But yeah, so of course I've internalized it. Of course it's been really hard. Nothing worth having comes easy though. And, I have like really few regrets now that my kids aren't in diapers anymore and I'm doing what I want to do, right? Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for bringing that up because I've carried a lot of guilt about that over the years, and so I'm happy to know that other people have done that.
And I felt guilty. I'll tell you when I feel most guilty. I feel most guilty if I know I'm going to be invited somewhere and one of those comrades or one of those constituents is going to be there too, right? And I'm like, right? And just on a personal note, I'll be like, don't eat all the chips, right? Because I'll just be standing next to the bowl, like, I'm not stressed, right? And then now I know, like, call Linda and she'll make me walk 7 miles. But yeah, the guilt can consume you partly because I think we're socialized to be nice and to like everyone, right? Which is why I was always had like friends. I loved everybody. I was like, I love you. I love you.
It's nice to know.
Right? Like, let's have lunch tomorrow, right? Like that is like who I was. And then I realized you just can't do that. Like we have to be more selective.
Question. You seem like you have a personality where you're striving for the next thing and you're trying to push through barriers and really get to the next thing and the next thing. How do you know, or are you in a place now that you just feel that you're satisfied in this place?
I never know.
Are there next things that you constantly feel, or are you giving yourself permission to just stay where you've earned yourself to be?
I never know. Like that's where I was yesterday. I was like, should I do something else? Should I take a nap? Should I do something else? Should I take a nap? I did both. See, it's too much. No, it's really hard. I don't, because everybody's threshold is different for all kinds of things, right? We all do different things. Like, I have a girlfriend who was very intentional. She was like, I'll never have children, right? I have 3. She'll tell people I have 15, because that's what it looks like to her, right? She's like, all those kids, right? Because that's what her threshold is, right? Now, my idea of exercise, right, is going to the end of the driveway, going to the mailbox. I feel good about that, and then I go back in the garage, right? Linda's idea of exercise is every day, all day, right? Which I want to get there, but, it's a struggle. So I never know for myself what's too much, and I don't think we can know it for each other, right? I mean, we should just try to encourage each other and not stand in the way of people's dreams. And I knew it sounded crazy that I was going to go to law school, but I also knew that I had a plan, right? And it worked out just fine.
Duchess,
Yeah.
at what point in your life did you embrace your ambition, where you were like firmly okay with being ambitious?
14.
Can you repeat the question?
She said, when did I know it was okay to be ambitious? And I said, 14. You know, really, as I went to high school and I was like, I'm not like them. And, you know, they knew I wasn't like them. And so it gave me a lot of time to be me. Yeah. But I mean, that doesn't mean I haven't struggled with it. Like, there's all kinds of times where I'm like, oh, if I were less ambitious, like, I'd have more friends that I would love, right? But, you know, it doesn't work out that way.
So where do you draw the line? I constantly struggle with it, where your inner voice says, no, you have to keep going and do all these things. But there are not those comrades, but like good friends who meanwhile will call you overachiever or like slow down.
Yeah.
When do you think you should slow down? Or
You know, I don't know. Yeah, someone called me an overachiever once. I thought it was an insult.
Repeat the question.
The question was, what do you do when well-meaning people are telling you to slow down? You have to decide like where they fit in your life, right? And I think there's layers of this, right? I mean, we have relatives that like we just can't kick out, right? Like you can't just be like, ah, Betty, I quit you, right? It doesn't really work that way, right? But you also like shouldn't go to like the holiday event and announce like all of your dreams, right? Like one of the things I've learned is you just have to ask yourself, who do I share my dreams with? Right? Have your dreams, you just don't. So I'd be in produce, right? And I'd be like, you look so interesting. Let me tell you what I plan on doing, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I really had to work on that because most people are going to say, you can't do that, right? And so that's where the confidants come in. You're really probably only going to have one or two people. And if you have that, that's almost a miracle where you can say, I'm kind of thinking about this. And they'll be like, you know, you're pretty good. You might be able to pull that off.
What's the name of your book?
So, okay, I have 3 books. So the one that's aimed towards junior high and high school students is simply called Black Lives Matter. And if you go on Amazon, it pops up. And then I have a reader for anyone who's kind of like a history geek that's called Racially Writing the Republic. And it goes from George Washington to the March on Washington. And then my other book, so flatteringly, is right here. Thank you very much, Linda. It's called Black Feminist Politics from Kennedy to Obama. And this is on Amazon too. So, yeah.
And if you fill out the survey, you'll have a chance to win a copy.
Hey.
Can you talk about how you balance your home life and your work life?
Sure. Okay, so I'm not a morning person. That is like my biggest struggle. And I have to get up at 6 because I have a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary schooler. My high schooler is the one who has autism, so I have to like manage his showers. People tell me that high school boys that don't have autism, you have to manage their showers. So I don't know how different my life is, but my morning routine is kind of chaotic. Because I'm an academic though, I don't have a 9 to 5. So I always go home and I like decompress and I do things for myself. And then I go back into work, and then I'm fortunate enough that I have a babysitter that works from 2:30 to 8:30, and that person does like all the driving, right? Because you know somebody's in taekwondo, and someone is in swimming, and someone's doing circus juventus, and it's all crazy making to me, and I can't make it all happen. But I'm constantly saying, okay, time for me, and I'll tell them that. I'll be like, I'm going in my room, I'm shutting my door, bye. You know, and they're old enough now that they're like, okay. Which means I get 10 minutes and then they knock. Whatever. whatever. I can go to the bathroom by myself though, they're past that. So I mean, and if you're in that phase, hold on. It will end. I know you don't think it'll end, it'll end.
Can I get that in writing?
When I realized like that was real, I was like, oh my God, like I'm in here by myself. It'll happen, and it's okay if you cry. I mean, what else are you going to do, right?
10 minutes. 10 glorious minutes.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm seriously, like the lack of privacy, this is a true story. So my youngest son is going to be 9 in 2 weeks. And when he was about 6, I took him to an art class. This great place in Powderhorn called Articulture. Maybe no, that's not Powderhorn. That's Seward neighborhood. So we're there, and I'm trying to be very respectable mommy. And I was like, hello, I'm here for art class. And then, just out of the blue, he goes, I've seen my mommy's Bobos. And I was like, hello. He likes to watercolor. So, you know, privacy is a luxury. It will come. He would never do that now. But he had no problem with it a few years ago. True story. I still see that woman and I'm like, hi. I love you. And have lunch. Are we good? Okay, I think we have one more, and then we're good? Okay, yeah.
I just have a question about you are taking a non-traditional path with your education. Probably you were in school with people that were much younger than you. Being in study groups, I mean, how you obviously took a change in your career because of that. So that was adventurous in itself. But how did you handle being okay with being with other people that were constantly maybe wondering why you were there, and you're looking for support from them, or how did you make it through that transition?
Well, it was actually kind of mortifying because some of my former students, when I say former students, I taught them like the month before, were my classmates, right? So this is crazy because I started summer session. So McAllister's graduation is May, William Mitchell's summer session starts in June. And so there were a few students who saw me and they thought I was there because I'd been denied tenure, right? Which is not true. I just want to say that's not true. And so they'd see me and they'd be like, oh. Right? And I was like, no, I'm just here because I want to learn more. And they're like, sure. Right? And then, it was difficult to break into the study groups. The conversations were very cute. Because, I mean, I don't mean that in a condescending way, but I mean the stuff they were talking about, I was like, stop it. Just stop it. But that's where they were. It wasn't easy. My energy was completely different. Like, I was like, I need sleep now. But I mean, I just made a way, and I learned ways to like laugh at it, and I'd say, you're going on a date, I'm having a hot flash, it's all good. But I mean, it was not easy, because I mean, it took like an extra semester. So instead of 3 years, it was like 3.5 years. And I'll admit, by year 2, I was like, why did I do this? But I'm really glad I did it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our goals for today was to have our speakers speak for a shorter amount of time so that we had time to connect. I know a lot of times people go to a conference and then they have all these great notes, but they don't have any time to really think and digest the information. So we started off with the icebreaker at the beginning, breaking into groups of 4. Do people want to do something similar? 4, groups of 3 or 4?